I'm Alison Donley for Cecil TV. On November 3rd, Cecil County voters will choose a new county executive. Our current county executive, Dr. Alan McCarthy, lost to first-time candidate Danielle Hornberger in the June primary. That means Danielle will face another first-time candidate, Democrat Jeff Case, on the ballot in November. Danielle is here virtually with us today to talk about her background and vision for Cecil County if elected. Cecil TV conducted a similar interview with Jeff Case, which you can find on www.cecil.tv. Danielle, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's very nice to be doing this from our own homes, right?
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
So for folks who don't know you, tell us a bit about your background.
Sure. So as we were just kind of chatting about a moment ago, I am from Southern Maryland originally. I attended CSM, that's the College of Southern Maryland. I was studying communications, and I decided that I wanted to go into elementary education because I really was super fortunate and blessed to have a brand new elementary school with handpicked teachers and pilot programs. And so really, I look back fondly, and my elementary educators just shaped, my life and who I was. So they inspired me, and I wanted to go into that profession. So my mother wisely suggested that I maybe try substitute teaching to see if it really was a good fit. And so I did. I began substitute teaching and realized very quickly that I absolutely love teaching, but I love teaching middle and high school students. So that's what I continue to do. I continued to teach raising our son. We have a 17-year-old who is a senior here in public school in Cecil County, goes to Northeast High School. And so again, just raising the family, continued to substitute teach. I then became an educator at North Bay, which is just a phenomenal place. And, in that role, of course, teaching science, next gen standards, all that good stuff. But what I can say to me is the most important part of that was that we really focused on students reflecting and really paying attention to how their choices make a difference to their future, affect their communities, and affect their environment. So that to me is just, it was an amazing place to be because it's something that I'm really passionate about. I'm just really passionate about being aware of yourself and service and how do you and everywhere you go, whether you're walking across the street and smiling or scowling, or picking up a piece of trash, whatever it is, you have an effect. Mm-hmm. So anyway, from there, I of course now work for Congressman Andy Harris. And I've been working as my title is community liaison. I'm actually a hybrid. The two individuals that I replaced, one was a community liaison, which does outreach in the community, and the other was a constituent liaison, basically customer service. Handling any kind of issue that any constituent in the district might have. It's mainly federal, but they may have another issue that I am basically that go-between, if you will. So, that has been a great role, just a continuation of my experience with my husband. Of course, you've interviewed Kevin a few times. So yeah, my husband is a state delegate, and in being married to him and being involved in the community like we are, being involved in politics like we are, that's just been a natural progression of being able to use my spirit of customer service and helping people, and also my knowledge of knowing where to get that help, and the who's who in the area. So yeah.
Okay, thanks. If elected, what are your top 3 priorities for the county?
Sure, that's a good question. And the reason why it's so good is because I have a lot of priorities, a lot of things that I think are important. It's hard to narrow it down, but I will try my hardest. The first one I would say is just overarchingly accessibility, transparency, accountability. I think that the residents of Cecil County have been craving this for a long time. They want to know that their government is working hard for them, not just for a few, well-connected folks, but for everyone. We want to be able to provide that spirit of how can we help you, that customer service spirit that, where I come from, constituent services needs to really be ramped up. And, I think an example of this is, just something very simple to make sure that our website is updated and accurate, that we're doing so many things right now remotely, of course, like we are right now. And so to provide that capability and that information. I know I had someone recently who went online on the county website, and the information wasn't there for what time they could pay their bill and things like this. So, just small things like that are huge to the average taxpayer. And then I'll go into taxes. So it's imperative to me that, and to most of us who are regular taxpayers, regular people in Cecil County, that it's affordable to live here. I, of course, live here. Our son attends school here, public school, and then his grandparents and their brother and sister. We have a lot of family, a lot of people who, whatever end of the spectrum, you're raising a family or you're, retired and on a fixed income, it needs to be affordable. So, it's a big picture thing. It's not just one thing. I have been asked, well, what are you going to cut? And it's more than that, right? That's not the answer of just, I'm going to cut some service. That's not how we look at things. That's not how we do things. What we want to do is say, first, can we get a hold of the spending, because spending has been out of control? And then second, let's build, we need to continue economic growth. But with that being said, I want to see our county retain its rural culture, its agriculture, the water, it's small towns. We have 8 municipalities who are all each very, special and unique and bring a lot to the table. So how do we kind of work with them and build those things up. How do we support small businesses? How do we support agribusiness? I had actually a meeting that I was just coming back to meet with you today, with a business that's interested in coming to Cecil County. So, we want to build on the revenue that we already have. That's another piece of it too. And then third, the opioid epidemic is, again, it's not just one thing, it's everything. Mm-hmm. It affects everyone. There's probably not a person, you or I know that it hasn't been touched, that haven't been touched by this problem, someone in their family or a friend. And it's sad to say, but we're second only to Baltimore City, in Maryland regarding this problem. So we really need to get a hold of it. It's a big problem. We talk about the continuum: prevention, treatment, recovery, law enforcement. All of these things are important, and we can't just focus on one piece of the puzzle, right? So I've been meeting with people already, people from the health department, Virgil Boysaw, faith-based. I think it's incredibly important that we, bring in other groups, nonprofits, who have already been working on this problem, of course, before me. But all of these people and groups need to be brought to the table and say, okay, these are the pieces of the puzzle. Let's start putting them together and taking this as seriously as we can and working on this nonstop, because like I said, it affects everything. It's going to affect, our economic growth. It's going to affect our schools and our children. It's got to get under control.
So you touched on this, and you sort of answered my question, but I'm hoping maybe you can elaborate a little more. Sure. Do you believe that property taxes are too high in Cecil County, and if so, what specifically would you do to reduce them? And I know that, as you said, it's a process, but I guess what does that process look like?
Right, sure. So it is a process, and it, like I said, it starts with getting spending, under control. We do have a AA bond rating, and that's good. The reason that we haven't been able to obtain a AAA bond rating, which the state does have, is because the spending has been out of control. When you have good credit, which is basically what a bond rating is, you may be able to go out and buy 2 brand new cars and say, hey, here's one for her, one for him. But is that the way to spend your money? Is that the way to spend the money that you don't even have? So, are we putting this debt on our children? And is it wise? Are these wise decisions that we're making? So, we need to look at the spending, look at capital improvements. And like I said, we need to certainly look at economic growth and look at building a community, building Cecil County into the best Cecil County that it can be, retaining that culture, but building on it.
So this reminds me of another topic. You have recently come out against the inclusion of the Southfields properties into the enterprise zone. And Southfields is a complex project, and the pros and cons of it go beyond the scope of this interview. But How do you distinguish between good and bad economic development, and does any kind of development deserve a tax break?
Sure, that's a great question. And I would actually say if we could make the entire county an enterprise zone, that would be fantastic. I mean, sure, but that's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're picking winners and losers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, to me, when I see something like Southfields, which is, as you know, a hot topic and contested by local residents, and you're always going to have some folks that are unhappy. We know that, but this one has been pretty upsetting to a lot of folks who live close to that, and there's a lot of other reasons, as you said, that pass the scope.
Mm-hmm.
But the enterprise zone giving a tax incentive after a company is a developer is already set to develop. They're going to develop anyway. That's, to me, not really what the purpose of an enterprise zone is. It's in the word, incentivize, right? So if you're going to develop it anyway, I'm a little confused on why we're giving money back to a developer that was going to develop it anyway. And, I'm a little concerned about why we're doing that. I am meeting with the developer tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So, who knows, maybe he's going to tell me this is what we're doing for the community, and these are all the fantastic things that we're going to give back, and it's really going to be this great, wonderful thing, and maybe I can come back to the constituents and tell them what he said, and they go, oh my gosh, this is Disneyland, wonderful. We'll see. I'm always up for conversation. I think that so much of this is about relationships and hearing people out. So for now, I've certainly come out with that opinion, and that's how I feel. I really will go with what the constituents of Cecil County feel is best for their county, and that's the job, of county of government, is to speak for and do the best you can for your constituents, for those residents, right? So that's just what I'll try to do.
So I guess you would consider development worthy of a tax break if it, in your view and in the view of constituents, if it's the best for the community. And
that's right. Yeah. So, to me, I look at incentives, tax breaks. Why aren't we incentivizing small businesses that, like I said, build on our culture, agribusiness, maybe some sort of water adventure, even things like manufacturing or tech jobs that would bring, look, my son is going to a couple of college classes right now. Even though he's a senior, he wants to stay in Cecil County. I want him to be able to have options, right? Good options, good jobs. So, we have to weigh all of these things. We have to, each individual project is its own and has to be weighed. Does it fit? Mm-hmm.
Neither you nor your opponent have experience in county government. What qualifications or experiences do you have that prepare you for this position?
So I think that I'm very well qualified for this position, not only in the fact that I am a taxpayer in Cecil County, I'm a mother. As I said, my son does go to school here. I am vested in this county deeply. I've taught here, but also because this job is so much about relationships. I mean, I cannot I cannot stress enough how much it is, because if you have those relationships built up, you are able to get things done. You're able to find out where the money is, find that lever and pull it. You're able to contact the person that knows how to get XYZ. So I've been, as I said before, my husband is a state delegate. We ran back, and I say we because it is certainly a family affair. My son would say we ran. So we ran, the first campaign, 7 years ago now. And, not only was I already involved in our community and already involved in politics, but building upon that, just being with him, going to meetings with him, being down in Annapolis, and I can tell you I have a relationship with all of our delegates, our senators, our congressmen. It's all those things, and then of course our local people, not just our council people, who I have good relationships with all of them, but people that work at the county building, members of the business community. And so, between being my husband's wife, can we scratch that?
Well, you're right.
Yeah. Anyway, between being married to my husband and, just being involved in politics, locally for however many, the last 8 years or so. I mean, it just all has kind of added up to me being in the position now where I feel confident that, I know what's going on. I've studied the budget. I've studied our, charter government. I've studied the strategic plan. I'm talking to council members every couple of days for the last, couple of years. Just kind of building. So I think that compared to my opponent, I really already have a foothold of knowledge there, and I'm ready to hit the ground running.
Last question.
Sure.
If elected, you will be the county executive for all of the people in Cecil County, Republicans, Democrats, and unaffiliated voters. What message do you have for the Cecil County people who may not have voted for you?
I mean, I want everyone to vote, and do your due diligence, research the candidates, find out what each of us are about. But my message is that I am going to represent you and work for you, no matter what your political affiliations, stances on things. Look, I look at you as the customer, and just like I do for Congressman Harris, when I'm in that position, it doesn't matter if you are a Democrat or a Republican. In fact, it's funny because people call and say, I'm a Republican. I just want to let you make sure that's fine. But that's has no bearing on how I'm going to help you. That
Mhm.
what I want to do is help you. What I want to do is serve you, regardless of, your political affiliation or anything like that. Um, I was just recently at a sign waving last Friday, and I'm clearly a Republican, and I was a Trump delegate, and we're all out there waving Trump signs and American flags, and there were a few individuals across the street with their Black Lives Matter sign, and I think that's good. I think people should be involved and have, their feelings heard. Um, what I don't think is good is some people standing on this side of the street, other people standing on the other side of the street, screaming and almost getting into a competition of who can chant their mantra louder. Um, I've seen this with Black Lives Matters, Blue Lives Matters, and both of those things are important. You know what what I think we need to see is like I said, it all comes back to relationships, building relationships. So instead of us screaming from across the street, I'm right, no, I'm right, let's talk. I want to truly hear you. I want to listen to what your issues are and what your problems are, and let's see if we can figure this out.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today and for talking with me. It was
Thank
great
you for
to
listening.
meet you again.
Nice seeing you, Allison. Thank you.
Danielle Hornberger is the Republican nominee for Cecil County Executive.